In a Yoruba village, caressed by the warm African sun, lay a farmland unlike any other. Its golden fields, bountiful and stretching towards the horizon, were a testament to the dedication and hard work of Ade, a man in his late 40s. Ade was a prosperous farmer, known for his lush crops and generous heart. His prosperity was the fruit of years of toil, a symbol of unwavering dedication to the land he loved so dearly. In the bustling village market, Ade stalls stood out. They were always crowded, buzzing with customers eager to purchase his prized produce. Corn that seemed to capture the sunshine, yams as robust as the earth, and fruits that held the sweetness of nature. His success at the market was not just a source of wealth, but also of pride and joy to his family. Back at his home, a modest yet comfortable house adorned with vibrant local art, Ade's family shared in his prosperity, each in their own way. His wife, Temi, was an elegant woman with a fondness for fine things. That day, she tried on a new piece of jewelry, a necklace that shimmered like the morning dew. She admired herself in the mirror, the necklace a small yet significant symbol of the life they had built. Ade, look at this necklace. Isn't it beautiful? The women at the market couldn't stop staring, Temi said with a smile, seeking her husband's approval. Ade, looking at his wife with warm eyes, replied, "It suits you, my dear. Just like the prosperity of our land, you should be adorned with the finest." Their son, Ayo, a young man with a carefree demeanor, entered the scene, flaunting a new, expensive garment. "Father, see what I bought with the money you gave me. Everyone in the village will be talking about it," he exclaimed, his voice filled with excitement. Ade, ever the wise father, responded with a hint of concern in his voice. "Ayo, my son, remember, the value of a man is not in what he wears, but in what he does." Bisi, their daughter, entered with a basket of freshly harvested vegetables. Her face beamed with the satisfaction of hard work. "Father, I helped harvest these vegetables. They're as beautiful as Mother's jewelry," she said, her voice tinged with pride. "Ah, Bisi, my dear, your hard work is the true jewel of this family," acknowledging the value of her contributions. As evening approached, the family gathered around the dinner table. A simple yet hearty meal was laid out before them, a symbol of their togetherness and the fruits of their land. They raised their glasses in a toast. "To our family, may our days be as bountiful as our harvest," Ade proclaimed. They clinked glasses, reveling in the moment, unaware of the challenges that lay ahead. In this corner of the Yoruba village, life was a dance of prosperity and joy. But as an African proverb goes, even the best dancer must eventually leave the stage, and their dance of prosperity was nearing its unforeseen end. As the days rolled by, Ade, farmland, once a beacon of abundance and life in the Yoruba village, continued to thrive. The sun still rose with its golden smile, and the earth remained generous. But nature, in its unpredictable whims, was brewing a storm that would affect Ade's world. One fateful morning, as Ade walked through his fields, inspecting the crops, the sky turned ominously dark. A distant hum, like the approach of a rainstorm, grew louder. But it was not rain that darkened the sky. It was a vast, swirling mass of locusts, descending upon the fields like a plague from ancient tales. Ade stood frozen, his heart sinking, as he watched the swarm of locusts descend upon his crops. The air filled with the buzzing of 1,000 wings, and in a matter of hours, his beautiful fields were ravaged. The locusts, insatiable and relentless, left nothing but devastation in their wake. In the days that followed, Ade tried desperately to salvage what little remained. He planted new seeds, hoping against hope, but the soil, tainted by the swarm, refused to yield. His once fertile land had turned barren, a stark, cruel reminder of his loss. The impact of the disaster rippled through his family. The prosperity that had once defined their lives evaporated like morning dew under the harsh sun. Wealth, accumulated over years of hard work, dwindled rapidly, consumed by debts and the desperate need to restore his farm. The man who had once been the pride of the village now wore the heavy cloak of despair. Temi, Ade's wife, who had once adorned herself with the finest jewelry, watched her world crumble. The sparkle of her ornaments seemed to mock her as their life of comfort and luxury slipped away. Ayo, their son, found his frivolous spending curtailed, a harsh awakening to the realities of their plight. But it was Bisi, their hard-working and obedient daughter, who stood as a pillar of strength in these trying times. She stayed by her father's side, her hands working tirelessly alongside his, trying to breathe life back into the lifeless earth. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the burden of failure weighed heavily on Ade's shoulders. His once thriving farm, the source of his pride and livelihood, had become a barren wasteland. The family, once the epitome of prosperity, now faced the harsh winds of adversity, their future uncertain, their hope dwindling like the last embers of a dying fire. As the days turned into weeks, following the devastation of the locust swarm, Ade's once prosperous life began to unravel further. Ayo, his son, oblivious to the family's dwindling fortune, continued his extravagant lifestyle. Unbeknownst to Ade, Ayo had been recklessly spending money under his father's name, acquiring expensive items and luxuries they could no longer afford. The truth came crashing down on Ade when a series of debts surfaced, all incurred by Ayo. The realization that his son's actions had pushed them to the brink of financial ruin was a blow more painful than the loss of his crops. Ade's reserves, already depleted by the failed attempts to revive his farm, were now entirely exhausted by the need to settle Ayo's debts. The family's financial situation turned dire, leaving Ade bankrupt and despondent. Temi, Ade's wife, who had once reveled in their wealth and status, found herself facing a reality she was unprepared for. The glitter of her jewels faded in the face of their stark poverty. As the reality of their situation set in, Temi's affection for Ade waned, replaced by resentment and a cold distance. In a heartbreaking turn of events, Temi decided to abandon Ade. She was swayed by the attentions of another wealthy man, choosing to leave her life with Ade behind. Ayo, ever the opportunist, followed his mother, drawn by the allure of wealth and comfort, leaving his father and sister behind. The departure of Temi and Ayo left a deep, aching void in Ade's heart. His family, once his pride and joy, had crumbled under the weight of misfortune and betrayal. Bisi, his loyal and hard-working daughter, remained by his side, her presence a small comfort in his world of pain. With their situation growing dire and the whispers of the village becoming unbearable, Ade made a fateful decision. He sold what little remained of their possessions, including their family home, a final severing of the ties to their past life. Ade and Bisi, carrying the burden of their shattered lives, left their village. They traveled to a distant village, a place where they were unknown, a place where they could start anew. Here, Ade saw an opportunity not in farming, which had once been his life, but in the humble craft of pottery. Determined to rebuild their lives from the ashes of their despair, Ade and Bisi began their new venture. They set up a small workshop where Ade's farming hands learned the delicate art of shaping clay. Bisi, ever supportive, worked alongside her father, her spirit unbroken despite the hardships they had endured. In this new village, away from the painful memories of their past, Ade and Bisi embarked on a journey of healing and rebuilding. The road was long and fraught with challenges, as they were new to the village, and many people were wary of them since they were strangers. With time, the modest success of the pottery venture brought a semblance of stability to Ade and Bisi's lives. Their days were marked by the rhythmic spinning of the potter's wheel and the gentle shaping of clay. One sunny afternoon, as Ade was arranging his freshly made pots outside their humble workshop, a group of village youths approached him. They were known faces in the village, but not frequent visitors to his stall. Their leader, a charismatic young man with a persuasive tone, initiated a conversation that piqued Ade's interest. "We've heard of your craftsmanship," the youth began, his voice laced with admiration. "There's a wealthy man in a neighboring village who is interested in buying pots in large quantities. We thought of you because we believe it's time our village's talent is recognized beyond our borders." The proposal seemed like a beacon of hope, a chance for Ade to reclaim some of his lost prestige and expand his humble business. The prospect of such a sale filled him with a cautious optimism. He discussed the proposal with Bisi, who shared his excitement, but also reminded him to tread carefully. Plans were made, and the day of the exchange was set. Ade worked tirelessly, preparing the best of his pots for this significant opportunity. Bisi helped him pack the pots onto carts, her heart swelling with pride for her father's dedication. The evening of the exchange, Ade arrived at the designated meeting spot, the carts laden with his finest work. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the empty road. Minutes turned to hours, and the anticipated buyers were nowhere to be seen. Confusion and worry clouded Ade's mind. Just as he considered leaving, a commotion erupted. A crowd of men and women, faces twisted in anger, marched towards him. Among them were the village youths who had brokered the deal. "There he is! He's trying to flee the village with our items!" shouted one of the youths, pointing accusingly at Ade. Stunned, Ade tried to reason with the crowd, but his words were drowned out by the cacophony of accusations. The village guards, summoned by the commotion, ordered a search of his carts. To Ade's utter disbelief, a gold necklace, an item he had never seen before, was found amongst his pots. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. He had been duped, framed for a theft he did not commit. The youths, with feigned indignation, denied any knowledge of the supposed business deal, painting Ade as a thief trying to escape with their precious item. Dragged back to the village square, Ade and Bisi faced the chief and the assembly of villagers. Despite their pleas and explanations, the chief, swayed by the testimonies of the village youths, could not see past the evidence laid before him. "The words of a stranger cannot outweigh the voices of our own," the chief declared solemnly. "You are found guilty of theft. Your punishment is banishment. Your land and possessions shall be relinquished to compensate those you have wronged." The verdict was a crushing blow. Stripped of their hard-earned livelihood and labeled as criminals, Ade and Bisi were cast out of the village, their dreams shattered, their trust in humanity deeply shaken. As they left the village, with nothing but the clothes on their backs, the weight of injustice and betrayal hung heavy on their hearts. The journey ahead was uncertain, the road uncharted, but together, father and daughter stepped into the unknown, their bond, their only solace. The injustice of their exile left a bitter taste, and the future seemed bleak and uncertain. Hunger and fatigue were their constant companions as they traversed the landscape, searching for a refuge, a place to rest their weary souls. As the sun began to set, they came upon an old man resting under the shade of a large tree. His face was etched with the lines of time, and his eyes held stories untold. Ade and Bisi approached him cautiously, their voices tinged with desperation. "Greetings, elder," Ade said, his voice weary. "We are travelers in need." Might you spare some water for us? The old man, observing their haggard appearance and the despair in their eyes, nodded silently. He led them to his humble abode. Once inside, the old man brought them water, and seeing their weakened state, he offered them food. They ate in silence, each bite a small solace in their turbulent journey. As they regained some strength, the old man's curiosity grew. "Who are you, and what ill fate brings you to these lands?" he asked, his voice gentle yet firm. Ade, his spirit dampened by the events that had unfolded, shared their tale. He spoke of their prosperity, the plague of locusts, their shift to pottery, the betrayal, and their subsequent exile. His words were heavy with sorrow, and Bissie's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she clung to her father's side. The old man listened intently, his expression a mix of empathy and contemplation. As their story came to an end, he offered them a place to stay for the night. "Rest here," he said. "You both need it. Tomorrow is another day, and perhaps it will bring a brighter dawn." Ade and Bissie, grateful for the kindness of a stranger, accepted his offer. That night, they slept under a roof that was not their own, but the peace it offered was more than they had hoped for in their current plight. The following morning, the old man was up at dawn, tending to his fields. Ade, feeling a sense of duty to repay the old man's kindness, offered to help. As they worked side by side, Ade learned that the old man too had a story of loss and solitude. His wife had left him years ago, seeking a different life, and he had since lived alone, finding solace in the rhythm of nature. As the days turned into weeks, a bond formed between Ade, Bissie, and the old man. They worked together, shared meals, and exchanged stories. The old man's farm became a place of healing for Ade and Bissie, a sanctuary where they could piece together their broken spirits. Months had passed since Ade and Bissie found refuge with the old man. The rhythm of life on the farm, once foreign to them, had become familiar, almost comforting. Ade's hands, which had once molded clay into pots, now worked the soil again, sowing seeds of a different kind. Bissie, with her ever-present resilience, had adapted to their new life. The old man, who had been a solitary figure for so long, found new energy and purpose in the presence of Ade and Bissie. They had become like family to him, filling his home with laughter and warmth that had been absent for many years. In Ade, he saw a son, and in Bissie, a granddaughter. One evening, as the sun set, the old man called Ade and Bissie to his side. His face, usually calm and composed, held a seriousness that immediately caught their attention. "Ade, Bissie," the old man began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "In the time you have been here, you have brought life back to this old heart. You have become more than guests. You are my family." Ade and Bissie listened, a sense of unease growing within them. The old man's tone was one of farewell, a prelude to something significant. "I am not a man of many possessions," the old man continued, "but what I have, I wish to leave to you."
Ade, you have the strength and wisdom of a great man, and Bissie, your spirit is a light that brightens the darkest days. I want you to inherit my lands, my home, everything I own.
The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning and consequence. Ade and Bissie were speechless, the gravity of the old man's offer sinking in. To inherit his property was not something they had ever anticipated. "Ade, you are the son I never had, and I can think of no one better to carry on my legacy," the old man said, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Ade, overcome with emotion, found it hard to speak. "We cannot accept such a generous offer," he finally managed to say. "You have already given us so much." But the old man was resolute. "This is my wish," he insisted. You and BC have given me something priceless, a sense of family. Let this be my way of thanking you." In the days that followed, the old man's health began to decline rapidly. It was as if making his decision and sharing his wishes had lifted a weight off his shoulders, allowing him to let go. Ade and BC cared for him with deep affection, cherishing the time they had left together. When the old man passed away, it was peaceful, with Ade and BC by his side. They mourned him deeply, feeling the loss of a family member. In his passing, he had left them a new beginning, a chance to rebuild their lives on a foundation of love and gratitude. Ade and BC, now the owners of the old man's lands and home, faced the future with a renewed sense of purpose. They vowed to honor his memory by living a life full of kindness, hard work, and respect for the land that had given them refuge in their time of need. Their journey, marked by loss and betrayal, had brought them to this unexpected turn. The old man's legacy was not just in the land he left them, but in the lessons of life, resilience, and the enduring power of family, however it is found. The farm they inherited flourished under their care. As they worked the land and continued the old man's practices, their reputation for kindness and hard work spread to neighboring villages, earning them a name and increasing their status, making them important personnel in the village they resided and beyond. A year had passed since Adi and BC were unjustly banished from the village, where they had sought refuge and started anew. In that time, they had built a life of modest prosperity and respect in their new community, far from the shadows of their past misfortunes. Ade, wisdom and kindness, coupled with Bissi's enchanting voice, had earned them a place of honor among their new neighbors. Back in the village that had cast them out, the tides of fortune had shifted dramatically. The group of youths who had framed Ade were eventually caught in a web of their own deceit. Their continuous thievery from surrounding villages had finally caught up to them, and they were apprehended. The revelation of their crimes brought a dark cloud over the village, tarnishing its reputation. The villagers, now aware of the truth, were filled with regret. The realization that Ade had been innocent all along was a bitter pill to swallow. The village that had once prided itself on its integrity was now viewed with suspicion and wariness by its neighbors. Amidst this turmoil, Ade felt a pull towards his ancestral village, a place untouched by the scandal and pain of his recent past. It was a journey not just to reclaim his ancestral home, but also a pilgrimage to reconnect with his roots and heritage. As Ade and Bisi, accompanied by guards as a mark of their newfound status, entered his ancestral village, they were met with looks of surprise and admiration. Ade, once a simple farmer, now returned as a man of wealth and importance. The villagers gathered around, marveling at the change in his fortunes. Ade swelled with mixed emotions as he walked the familiar streets. Memories of his childhood, his family's legacy, and the happier times before their downfall filled his mind. On his way to his ancestral home, Ade witnessed a commotion. It was Temi and Ayo, now outcasts, pleading with the new husband of Temi. They had been cast away from their new home due to their overspending and disregard for the values Ade had once held dear. The sight of his estranged wife and son, now humbled by their own misfortunes, stirred feelings of both sadness and disdain within him. Temi, noticing Ade, approached him with tears in her eyes. "Ade, please forgive us. We were blind to what truly mattered," she pleaded. Ayo, too, echoed his mother's pleas. "Father, we have learned our lesson. Please, give us another chance." Ade looked at them, his heart torn between the pain of the past and the forgiveness he knew he must find. "I forgive you," he said after a moment of contemplation. "But you must prove that you have changed. I will not take you back as family members until I see a real transformation in you." For now, I can offer you work, a chance to rebuild yourselves as we had to." Reluctantly, Temi and Ayo agreed, accepting the opportunity to work and prove their sincerity. Ade then proceeded to his ancestral home, now a mere shell of what it once was, turned into a stall by its new owners. After much negotiation, he reclaimed the property, restoring it to its former glory, a symbol of his family's legacy. With his mission accomplished, Ad prepared to return to the village that had given him a second chance at life. As he left, he looked back at his old village, a place of both pain and growth. He had come seeking closure and had found it, not in revenge, but in the act of forgiveness and the reaffirmation of his values. Adi and Bisi returned to their new home, their spirits lifted by the resolution of their past. They had come full circle, from prosperity to despair, and back to a life of fulfillment and purpose, guided by the lessons they had learned along the way. In the heart of the vibrant village, Ade's newly built house stood as a beacon of his journey from despair to redemption. The large, beautiful structure, surrounded by lush gardens, was more than just a home. It was a symbol of his resilience and the love he had shared with Bisi and the old man. Inside, the walls echoed with the laughter and joy that had once been a distant dream for them. Bisi, whose voice had always been a source of comfort and hope, had become a beloved figure in the village. Her songs now resonated at gatherings and celebrations, her voice a testament to their journey and the beauty that emerges from adversity. Ade spent his days tending to the vast farmland, now a thriving expanse that bore the fruits of his labor and wisdom. He transformed the old man's legacy into a flourishing enterprise, combining his knowledge of farming with the craft of pottery. His success was not measured just in the wealth he accumulated, but in the respect and admiration he earned from his fellow villagers. One evening, as Ade and Bisi sat under the stars, reflecting on their journey, Adi shared his thoughts. "Life, my dear Bisi, is like the soil we tend, sometimes barren, at times fertile, but always ready to give back to those who care for it with patience and love." Bisi, looking up at the starlit sky, replied, "And like the stars, we found light in our darkest moments, guiding us through, leading us to a new dawn." Their conversation was a quiet celebration of the trials they had overcome and the unbreakable bond they had forged. They had not only survived their hardships, but had emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The following days brought more changes. Ade, ever vigilant, decided to revisit his home village to check on his ancestral home and other properties he bought. As he walked through the streets of his old village, Ade felt a sense of peace. His presence was a lesson in humility and strength, a reminder to all of the power of resilience. Before leaving, Ade encountered Temi and Ayo, who had been working diligently in one of his properties. Their demeanor had changed. The arrogance and entitlement had given way to humility and a deeper understanding of life's true values. Ade's heart softened as he saw the change in them. "You have shown that you are willing to learn and grow," he said. "Keep this path, and perhaps one day we can be a family again." With these parting words, Adi left the village, his heart light and hopeful. Adi and Bisi, once entwined with loss and betrayal, were now a testament to the enduring human spirit. In the end, Adi and Bisi's story was not just about the trials they faced, but about the strength they found within themselves and each other, a strength that carried them into a new dawn of hope and possibilities. That is all for this video. Click the subscribe button to get more stories. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Cheers, friend.